If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyl and Derek Caldwell of the Hoyl Financial Group. A 65-year-old guy wrote into an advice column on MarketWatch.com, Steve, saying that he's been pulling about 10% of his IRA out to do Roth conversions. But the market keeps going up at least over 20%, so his balance keeps going up. So you would think this would be a good problem to have, but in the end, he's really trying to get all of his money de-taxed, and he feels like he's just never going to get ahead of that. What would you tell him?
Well, I'd first tell him, come see us. Let's sit down. We have a platform that we use that we will put your numbers in and we'll analyze your Roth IRA and we'll tell you exactly, most tax efficiently, when you should take that out. Should you take it all out in year one? Should you take it out over 5 years, 7 years, 8 years? So yes, it's great to have that growth in your retirement monies, but you're paying more and more taxes, and the goal is to get it wiped out. So we could do an analysis and say, let's say if we just wiped all of that out over the next 24 months, we'd get those taxes out of the way. But Jess, what he's doing is so brilliant. What happens is in retirement is people come in during accumulation one. They're raising kids maybe. They have all kinds of things going on. They're saving to get to retirement. Mm-hmm. But they never think about phase two, which is the distribution phase. So they get right up on it, and they don't have an efficient tax strategy. That's the problem. All of a sudden, they're going to pay so much in taxes because, Jess, people don't believe this, but the number one expense in retirement is taxes. But what they focus on is the number one fear in retirement, which is running out of money, which makes so much sense. But if you really sit down and have that plan, go to work, you can have an incredible retirement. You don't have to have just a Roth IRA. You can have a Roth 401k, a Roth TSA. For a lot of people, it's getting those taxes out of the way. A lot of people think, Jess, that taxes aren't going to go up. I don't know if they are or not, but you need to have that efficient tax strategy so no matter what happens in that arena, you're well taken care of.
It's interesting you say you think taxes will go up because obviously we know under the new Trump tax code, he's extended these, quote, lowest taxes we've ever had, right? So a lot of people are going, I don't need to worry about taxes. Trump's taking care of everything. Everything's going to be great.
Wait, Jess.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
I don't care if you vote red, blue, or purple. Tell me one thing that has not changed in this administration. Now, some for good, some for bad.
Sure.
But just because we said they're going to be this way, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. It seems like every day we wake up to a new headline. Again, doesn't really matter where you stand politically. A lot of things are uncertain right now in our economy, in our market, quite frankly, in our world, which I think, Steve, has a lot of people putting their head in the sand saying, I don't want to make any huge financial decisions because I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, whether it's taxes, inflation, economy. So how do you battle that?
You're exactly right. People put their head in the sand when they need to be the most proactive they've ever been. Jess, there's so many people that are in the red zone 5 years before retirement or in those first 5 years of retirement. And I'm going to tell you, that's where it matters, right there. You need to take action. So today, if you don't have an efficient tax plan, if you don't have a tax strategy to not get you just in retirement, to get you through retirement, you need to call us right now.
If you want to come in for this tax analysis and this income review, let's make sure you're being as tax efficient as possible. Again, more money in your pocket, less in Uncle Sam's. That's the overall goal. Maybe even giving you that tax-free retirement, Steve. We talk about that too.
So it's interesting as we talk about taxes, Jess. You don't want to pay taxes late, but you don't want to pay more than $1 that you don't owe Uncle Sam. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Well, but what's important is what people do is they focus on getting their taxes filed. Jess, I think it's so important to be compliant with your taxes for sure. But what's so important is once people file their return, they go home, they file it away or put it in that hard drive. They don't do another thing about taxes till next year when the biggest opportunity is right in front of them. Jess, as I was saying earlier, this accumulation phase of money is everything. But when the largest expense in retirement is going to be taxes, don't you think maybe some tax-free money makes sense? Can you imagine retiring and having all of your qualified money, those different buckets of money, being tax-free. It's incredible. For a lot of people, Social Security is still going to be taxable. I don't care what the news says. There's some loopholes there, but you've got to make a pretty small amount of money. But I'm going to tell you what an opportunity to have tax-free income. All of a sudden your Social Security is not taxed. Your Medicare is not taxed. All of those things matter because at the end of the day, it's how much money do you have to go enjoy your grandkids, to go travel, to go run and play. Maybe you want a new camper. Maybe you want to go travel, do whatever you want to do, but it's important to have the money to do it because you know what, Jess? Money makes the world go round.
Guaranteed income in retirement can come in several different forms. It can come in Social Security, pensions, annuities, even treasuries. Morningstar's Christine Benz says that people often put a higher priority on this type of income.
To the extent that they have non-portfolio income coming in, they tend to be more comfortable spending it. They give themselves more license to spend, which to me translates into a little bit of a happiness dividend. If you're not worried about the spending that you're doing, you're just going to be more comfortable and happy in retirement. So I think that's an important finding, that people who have more guaranteed income do tend to be a bit comfier and happier in retirement.
I would agree with that. And we've talked about this before. Those that have what we used to call mailbox money, of course you're happier. I'm happier when people give me money constantly. That sounds good to me. So how much retirement income should ideally, though, come from guaranteed sources?
Well, Jess, I think that you need to be diversified. You need lots of different buckets of money. But I think when it comes to income, you need to have that set out to know, let's say, there's a huge market loss and you're just taking money out of your retirement accounts. All of a sudden, do you want to use discounted dollars to pay your living expenses the next 6 months? Absolutely not. You need to have sustainable, dependable income. And that's a great way to do that with annuities, for example. Nobody wants that A word, but they want all the benefits of it. And, we've really helped people fix that income strategy. But what's important is, Jess, people think Social Security, that'll take care of me. Well, that was never a retirement plan. And for pensions, there are a lot of people that still have pensions, but they're pretty much few and far between. Mm-hmm. So we can kind of help you set up your own pension if you don't have one. What a pension basically is dependable income all the way through your life. And when we talk about that, pensions are great, but with the cost of living the way it is, you need some growth in your money. So we want to have some of your money over there to grow to make sure to keep up with inflation, which is a silent killer. So together, it all comes together. But if you're close to phase 2, which is within 5 years of retirement or in the first 5 years, man, you really need to take a look at where you're going to get your income from in retirement.
Steve, something that we talk about all the time here on the show is making retirement planning a priority, right? You make everything else, going to the gym, planning vacation a priority. Why not your money for the rest of your life? And you guys have a saying there in the office where you say, give me 2 hours or give your boss 2 years. Tell me about that.
Well, Jess, it's really important. For the past 3 decades, we've been sitting down and helping people retire and retire well. We call it Retire Texas style because everything's bigger and better in Texas, as we believe. But when you sit down and really open your mind to retirement and get busy and have a little bit of time on your side, we can really cut off how much longer you have to work because, it's the numbers. All of a sudden people saving money, they convert it to creating a strong income stream. Thinking about that really important tax strategy, thinking about what healthcare is going to look like in retirement, thinking about estate planning. We're going to visit all those things. There's lots of people out there that do all different types of money, but at Hoyl Financial, we really focus on that final phase of life, which is called retirement. And today, people, for a lot of them, are going to be in retirement longer than when they worked. You look at average couples today in their 60s, one of them is going to live to late 90s. So you really have to plan and not run out of money. So that's what we want to do is have dependable, sustainable income so you don't run out of income, but also have that strong tax strategy so you have more time, more money to go out and travel, play with the kids, do whatever you want to do in retirement. But that's what's important. You get to pick what you want to do in retirement. So come experience the Hoyl difference. Give us 2 hours or give your boss 2 more years. But let's get started today.
Now, Steve, this is kind of fun. I ran across a list on Instagram that talked about the familiar products that took off because customers used them the wrong way. Get this, Listerine, right? It apparently was a disinfectant before someone started using it as mouthwash in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Just how does that conversation go? Like you're in the cleaning closet, you got bleach, you got all this stuff, and they go, this looks good. Let me put this in my mouth, you know?
Oh, it's crazy. I don't like Listerine. I can't stand the smell or the taste. I think it's nasty. But for people, love it.
Yeah, well, it was a disinfectant.
Now
and,
they have those little
strong.
bitty tabs that
Yeah.
you put in your mouth. I mean, think how much somebody made off of that.
Oh, my gosh. Why wasn't that my idea?
Exactly.
Gosh, talk about income for life. Play-Doh was originally used to clean wallpaper in the 1930s. That I literally picture like the stay-at-home wife, whatever, with the apron. It just has like pink Play-Doh, and there she is scrubbing the walls.
Play-Doh is funny. My kids loved Play-Doh, and I hated Play-Doh because it would get down to the seats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just everywhere. There's just leftover. They were messy with it. And, you know, the Play-Doh disappeared. Susan would say, where's the Play-Doh? I have no idea. Yeah, I do. It's the trash. It's at the dumpster. It's funny when you think about Play-Doh and kids being messy, Jess. Not to get off here, but this weekend I kept McKay, my granddaughter, and I walked into the bathroom that she and her mom use, and there was markings on the tile with like a marker.
Oh, for the bath.
And all of a sudden, it was like deja vu.
Yeah.
You know, my son's an artist. He went to college in New York City. He does film for like Mary J. Blige, Dave Chappelle. Well, we knew he was an artist when we went into the playroom one day. And around the corner, nobody ever went back to that part. He had just been coloring. And it was just his art zone. You know, and he just been with markers. And you know what? We left it when till we remodeled, we had to rip that out. I wish I had that piece of sheetrock. But it's funny because when I saw her, I'm like, oh my gosh, keep doing that. Keep doing that. You know, that's why he was so successful.
Yeah.
But I mean, you need a art outlet. But that's when I think about Play-Doh. I think about coloring on the walls. Oh my gosh.
But also thinking outside the box. I mean, she's coloring on the walls in the bathtub. Your son did it on the wall where clearly he could have just gone and gotten paper and a crayon and did that. But he said, you know what? This is going to be different. I'm going to do the wall. And that's exactly my point here is thinking outside the box to do certain things. And sometimes the best retirement plans come from thinking outside the box. Steve, give me some examples of maybe mistakes people have made when they assume there's only one right way to retire.
Well, I think that's interesting, Jess. People that don't know what they don't know, that don't think outside the box. You know, people would come see us early on when I was in the business in the 80s, and they were Phillips retirees. I worked with so many, and they had this huge pension. And they're like, oh my gosh, but you know, they were retiring early. Phillips had a huge package for people at 55. And they were like, oh, I have this huge pension. I never need to worry. And I said, wait a minute. The inflation is the silent killer. This money, you're going to have that amount, but it's not going to be worth much in 20 years. Oh, I'll be fine. I'm just going to start taking from my 401k, or if I roll it to an IRA, I'm just going to take withdrawals. They didn't know about having lifetime income. You know, I had some people come back to see me 10 or 15 years later that wanted to do it their way, and their way was not the right way, and it was too late to take that nest egg and put it on ice for lifetime income. And it really wrecked their retirement. I have one of them that came, and we made it work, and all 3 of their children now are our clients because we figured out those little things. You know, one of the things that happened about that is that back in the day, CDs were 20%. You know, they got down to less than 1%. So all of a sudden, people thought those CDs were going to be great. No, they needed a lifetime income strategy that they or their wife could not outlive. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes in retirement.
Yeah, and something else to think about, guys, is there's not just one right way to retire, just like there's not one right way to make a financial and retirement plan. Everybody's situation is different. Your wants, your needs, your desires. All those things are different. So you have to think, I know we've really been trained and doctrined to, okay, you save your money, you get a 401k, you get Social Security, you enter retirement, have a good one. But there's more to that. As you mentioned, guaranteed income opportunities there. Maybe you need to look at your risk tolerance within your portfolio. So there's not just, these ingredients make up everyone's retirement, guys. That's what we're talking about, thinking outside the box.
I think just one of the big mistakes I see people doing, thinking the only way to do it is the only way to save money is in the company plan. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm going to plow money into my 401k. I'm going to put everything on there. And then they come see me and say, we got our kids through college and now I want to buy them a house. I want to give them 20% down to buy a house. And they don't have any money outside that qualified plan. They're 54 years old. All of a sudden, the taxes and the pre-59.5 penalty is going to wipe them out. So I think it's so important for people to save and get that bump up, that match for the employer. But I think it's so important to save outside those plans. Have you ever heard cash is king?
I sure have.
Well, it is. You can be saving systematically every month to, one of our strategies, a bank. A lot of people will save it up, get 30 or 40,000, then they bring it to us. Then they start over. But I'm going to tell you, having diversification, having liquidity, having money outside the company plan is about options. And just as there's one thing that I've learned in my past 30 years about retirement is retirees need options in retirement. If they don't, they're going to get wiped out by one mistake.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derek or a member of the Hoyl Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyl Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyl, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyl is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyl is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.